Please remain standing for the following people who passed away recently. Barbara Spinillo, retired teacher, passed away 12/7/19. Thomas P. O'Connell, retired RCK English teacher, passed away 1/4/2020. And Jeff Winsberry, a retired bus driver, passed away 1/4/20. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public comments on agenda items, last 30 minutes. A total of 30 minutes at the beginning of each board meeting is set aside to allow for public comments on agenda items only. Individual comments on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes and are welcomed. Based on the open meeting law and board policy 1230, debate or dialogue with board members not allowed during the meeting. Compliments or complaints about student discipline, specific student issue, or personnel must not be addressed during public comment. Comments or questions submitted to the use of public comment form will be sent to the appropriate staff member who will provide a response on the district webpage. If you wish to address items related to our school's district that are not on tonight's agenda, another comment period is provided at the end of the meeting for that purpose. In the interest of civility and respect for different points of view, clapping, booing, and any disturbance and disruption is not permitted. At this time, comments related to agenda items are welcome. Please state your name and the agenda item you're speaking on. Seeing no one. 4.02, communications and announcements received by Board of Education. Mr. Rubin.
Mr. President, thank you very much. Busy last couple of weeks. Although on January 9th there was a LAC committee, Legislative Action Committee, Mr. Slashauer and I were there. There was no quorum, so after 15 minutes we did leave. We said that. On January 8th we did there was a Capital Improvement Committee, a number of us were there. On January 6th, I was invited to attend the East Fishkill swearing-in ceremony, and I went to that, as well as on January 4th, there was National Math Honor Society at Ketchum. That was a wonderful experience. We had a number of us were there. The Wappingers Town Supervisor was sworn in. I was invited to go there. On January 3rd, Marcus Molinaro had a swearing-in ceremony. I was also invited to go there. And on January 2nd, Mrs. Kellen and I were both at the Dutchess County School Boards Association. Mrs. Kellen was, of course, a representative from the district. I went from both these. I met on December 30th with the Wappingers Town Supervisor, Dick Thurston. Also on that day, I believe Wappingers Junior High School and RCKHS. I picked up a bunch of stuff for the Castle Point veterans. December 22nd, there was a special, December 27th, excuse me, there was a special Board of Education meeting. Number of us, many of us attended that. The 23rd, there was a special Dutchess County BOCES meeting. Also on the 23rd, Wappingers Junior High School had their sing-along. I came to that. That was fun to see the kids come through the lobby here. On the 16th, we had a Legislative Action Committee meeting. And on the 11th, there was a Dutchess County BOCES meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Lopez. Mr. Slashauer.
Just want to wish everybody a Happy New Year.
Boy, that was quick. Mr. Odom.
Thank you. Last Tuesday, I attended the Kimry Winter Concert. I just want to say congratulations to Director King, Principal Bish, and all the music instructors. If you have any kids who have started playing an instrument, the first year is kind of tough because they're not that good at the time. But by the second year, the music sounds sweet. You can see and hear the improvement, and the orchestra, the band, and the chorus for the 5th and 6th graders at Kimry did a great job last week during the concert. Thank you.
Mrs. Rappaport.
Just want to wish everyone a happy New Year. I forgot the last board meeting to mention that I went to the Greg Tang Math Night. Mr. Lumia, Cardwell. And I just thought it was a really interesting way of promoting mathematical thinking through games for kids. And I also attended the Math Honor Society induction. And I was really happy to see the number of students, and particularly female students, with an interest in engaging in mathematical thought and pursuing a career that utilizes that mode of thinking.
Mr. Spencer.
No, thank you.
Ms. Johnson.
Actually, I attended the breakfast in December, and then I attended the Capital Improvement Committee this past week.
Ms. Kellen.
I also attended the Chamber of Commerce breakfast, and Ketchum was the only school that made it because of our because of the good planning in advance by Mr. King and Mr. Syke, that they were urged by an event of parents should bring them there. So despite the school delay in opening, our people were there, and they did a great job. They also, Mr. Lumia and I also had the opportunity to go to Albany with the concert choir from Ketchum and the concert band from John Jay to performed at the Department of the State Education Department at Albany, and a beautiful rotunda, and they performed for the Commissioner of Education and many employees who came to hear them, which was an exciting occasion. We also, Ms. Turner, the Director of Elementary Education, was so kind as to give me quite a bit of her time so that I could see some of the materials that we're using currently for the reading programs, and I appreciated that very much. I attended the Dutchess County School Boards Association along with Mr. Rubin, where they discussed negotiations for teachers' contracts, and our attorney who handles that, Stuart Waxman, did a fine job of explaining that the ultimate goal is that we all work together, and that we hope that negotiations lead to continued good working relationships while still looking at the financial responsibilities of the board and making sure that anything agreed upon will hold up for the long term. So he had a very good balanced approach, which he conveyed to the members of the school boards in the county. Also, I attended the Math Honor Society inductions at Ketchum, it's gratifying to see so many students doing well and continuing. And the policy committee met, and Mr. Sloshower, Mr. Lopez, and Mr. Lumia were there, along with Dr. Bonk and Ms. Pedro. And we also had Dr. Cardwell and Mr. Jessman and Mr. Boas came also, so that we could work on some of the policies which you're going to be seeing today. Thank you.
First, I'd like to congratulate the John Jay Virtual Enterprise students who are in first place, and they'll be going to the Nationals. And also, the RCK Virtual Enterprise students who are in fourth place. I'd also like to congratulate the John Jay Olympiad team medals at Columbia High School Invitational. Participants won five different medals in 5 different events. First place was Sanjay Natasan and Rohan Ganesan. Gravity vehicle, second place went to Kayla Closen and Ratna Sharma. Forensic, 5th place went to Patrick Rooney and Jessica Healy. The right stuff, 6th place went to Dan Sweeney, Akar Sahey, and 6th place Akar Sahey and Babu Shirasu Babu. Also, I'd like to congratulate the RCK wrestling team, and I'd like to thank all the parents who were really helpful in all the event, the particular event that takes place all the time. So thank you to the parents, and congratulations to the John Jay wrestling team. And with that, we have now the Superintendent's Report. By the way, is Rich Tomaselli here? Rich Tomaselli? He's going to be the representative for the Southern Dutchess News, who's going to be covering our board meetings. He's not here apparently, unfortunately, so Mr. Carry on.
I guess I'm done with the superintendent's report. Good evening, Board of Education. First, I'd like to wish everyone a Happy New Year. I see some of our high school students sitting in the audience, and for the last 6 years, I don't feel like a broken record, because I say it with all the same passion and commitment that as you now go into the year 2020, you are entering into the last semester of your high school career, your whole public education career. We wish you the best. We want you to excel, do your best, commit to this second half of the school year. Take advantage of all of it. Take advantage of all of it. And we definitely look forward, everyone sitting on the stage, for you to walk on stage so we can congratulate you in June and award you your diploma. So keep it up, and we're super proud of you. With that said, I also wanted to share quickly with the Board of Education that today's agenda, and I won't take it up when it's curriculum instruction, but I want to thank all of my colleagues sitting in the audience, your dedication, your commitment to our students, and always looking at how we can continue to expand opportunities and options for our students, not just academically, but also in the social and emotional learning aspect. And want to really give you all a shout out, not only for just being here, but for your day-to-day work that you do with our students, making sure that you continue to make Wapaja Central School District one of the best, or the best. Thank you.
6.01, General Support and Instructional Course Presentation.
Okay, before we get started, each year I do present the board, the Wapaja Central School District community with a presentation in Spanish. Unfortunately, I'm not really under the weather, so we had to postpone, but we will reschedule for a later date to make that presentation, as well as an additional presentation that we tend to make annually. It is with great pride that we're able to make this presentation today, because we continue to remain on schedule. And as you can see, we get started right away from the fall of 2019. And today, what we're looking at is the component for general support and instruction. As you can see, it's departmental budget requests. And those of you who know, we tend to refer to it as the wish list. This is where all of our colleagues and our different offices are really looking and making their proposals for the 2020-2021 school year. As mentioned in the past, our strategic planning, core planning committee reached consensus to remain with our mission statement, as well as our core values that you see here on the screen. Once again, sometimes there's no need to make changes. It's not like we just go into our computers and pull out the previous report, but we really we look at our previous reports and decide how we would make slight modifications. But here we have our factors, challenges, and our recommendations managed during the budget process. So I think these are some important terms. Our instructional program, as you can see, our colleagues are here, but we do provide student-centered programs and opportunities, and it is our goal to continue and work that way. Tax cap, it's balancing the budget within the tax cap parameters versus piercing the tax cap. What we can also say is that since the inception of the tax cap, Wappingers has never pierced the tax cap, and we've always remained within this tax cap. Along with state aid, developing projected budgets based on preliminary projections that are historically finalized in the spring. There you have noticed that over the years, we always show you what was the proposed budget with the entire wish list, and really what it came down to in terms of looking and seeing what it is that we will be receiving from the state. It is my understanding that Trustee Kellen, and I think I will also be in Albany March 3rd, lobbying, and if you have anything you'd like to share for us to take with us, please do not hesitate to do so. I believe President Bloom is coming too. Okay, declining enrollment. We put that in as a factor, but I think it's also important. We do understand that throughout the county and the state of New York, we have seen declining enrollment. One of the unique things about Wappinger Central School District is that we have 10 elementary schools. And with those 10 elementary schools, we have 2 very large schools, which is Myers and Gayhead. Then we have mid-sized schools, which is Fishkill Plains, Sheaf, and Brickerhoff. And then after that, our 5 remaining schools have less than 500 students. So although because of these smaller schools, and we may see less students at the elementary level, because they spread out between 9 schools when they're registering in the summer and in the fall to come into kindergarten, it does not provide us with a bigger impact in terms of how we can say maybe decreasing some of the class sections. So for example, quickly, Athens Elementary School, there's 2 sections per grade level. There'll never be 1 section per grade level. So it won't happen. So our smaller schools are not impacted by the decline in enrollment. That would make a significant difference to decrease in class sections. Of course, Every Student Succeeds Act, our Assistant Superintendent Lokema has talked about NICET and the school accountability measures and the impact that it will have, but also with the Every Student Succeeds Act. This has played a tremendous impact with our financial, our business office, in terms of how we will be managing, balancing, and looking at the budget in a much more, what's that word, Dr. Cardwell? Granular? Granular way. Unfunded mandates, which is something that we take pride that our board has always remained consistent in really looking and advocating to see some of these unfunded mandates we're responsible for and the financial impact that it has to our district. And of course, the New York State Education Department, our school calendar, and our school counselors. The use of estimates. Yeah, I'm sorry. Sure.
Certainly. So the district has to utilize many estimates. As we're building the budget, and these estimates are finalized and as we move through the process. We also have to look at our economic markets. We have to see what our debt service rates are going to be, because we are continuing to work on our capital projects. We have health insurance contribution rates, which we won't know until May as to what those will be, so we use an estimate there. We also have the New York State retirement systems, both teachers and employees. Their rate of returns on their investment pools impact our contribution rates. And also the Consumer Price Index, which is one of the driving factors behind the tax cap. As the superintendent had indicated, This proposal is the wish list. We have a lot of information in here. Nothing has been removed with regard to requests that have been put in place. So everything that has been asked for is included. And again, we're looking to make sure we build a budget that is quality student-centered and also has the highly qualified staff in order to be able to carry out those programs.
And if I can also add quickly, we have experienced this here with our community, that we've been very open to provide superintendent forums. We encourage our families to come to the Board of Education meetings, especially during this time of the school year. And it always turns out that we hear about what people would like to see come into our school district once it's finally approved by the Board of Education. But by no means is this administration, and we encourage the board to always continue to support community members to attend these events, because that's how we hear from our community members and look at how we're going to be inclusive of really creating a balanced budget and a viable budget that would support our students.
We're in the 9th year of the tax cap. It's hard to believe that it's been that long already. And as you can see from this graph, it has been a little bit of a tumultuous ride, but we have had some stability over the last 2 years at 2%. We still do not have the rate for 2020, 2021 at this point in time. And this evening, this presentation is going to be focusing on general support and instruction. The superintendent has liked this graphic, and we've used this graphic over the last couple of years to really try and show to the community as well as to our taxpayers how much of the budget is actively reconciled through the administration and through our budget process. I knew you didn't. So again, this work will be done again in the 2020-2021 school budget process to make sure that we can explain and show what exactly is non-negotiable, negotiable, and slightly negotiable.
And with that said, if you look at the trend ever since we created this traffic light as a metaphor, that the non-negotiable is always in the very high 70s, very low 80s, things that the budget is actually spoken for already. There's nothing that we can do in terms of touching those specific funds. Then the yellow light really represents we shouldn't touch, but if we're really going to make some sacrifices, this is the area where we can. And then the green is where we then start meeting with all the different departments and the different offices of the senior staff administration to really say, hey, this is where now we have to start looking at making some cuts. And that green is always less than 5% of the school budget, the entire budget. So that'll show you where we are in terms of balancing the budget.
Correct, and we would not show that this budget at this time in that format, because again, it would be skewed as to because this is the wish list. So this year, as we had shared, we have a transparency reporting requirement. So as part of the Every Student Succeeds Act, the school district now must report at, as the superintendent said, a very granular level. Every single department will still be budgeted for. However, it is broken down now by school building. So at any point in time, somebody may say, well, in the math department, how many codes are there for contractual? Well, there's 15 codes for contractual now, instead of the 1 or 2 that we used to have. So that has broken this budget down into very fine detail. The budget document for this portion of the budget used to be about 16 pages. It is 66 pages now. So this is our first go-round with this budgeting process, detail as it is. So we really are looking to make sure that all this information is shared with you, and as we work through the process, you'll be working through it with us. The general support portion of this budget is the non-programmatic items. There are 9 areas that you'll see listed, and we've broken them down into the account codes that are on the left-hand side. We've broken it down again, this non-programmatic budget, into a pie chart so you can see just the percentages of each of those areas, of those 5 areas: salaries, BOCES, equipment, contractual, and supplies. Now, we really have to be mindful that there is a lot of estimates in here. BOCES, for example, is an estimate. No new personnel is included in this budget. Every other personnel item has been included, but no new staff, because we meet as an administration to have that conversation. There is some school building equipment, physical education, a couple of playgrounds, laptop parts. We have an estimate for insurance, general liability that's not health insurance. Again, until we have a finalized number, we really have to do the best we can based on historical averages. And we do have an equipment lease included in this portion of the budget. The total change in this area is over $789,000, with the majority of that being in the area of salaries. We always do the comparison, and first of all, before we go any further, in the top right box, this is $191,988,791. That's a typo. It should be $19,988,791, so we'll fix that tomorrow. But what this shows basically is that we are looking at approximately an 8.96% increase from the general support portion of last year at this time to the general support at this time, for this year. Again, wish list includes a lot of items. We will continue to refine this process. Here's another way to look at that same data through a bar graph. You can just see salaries, BOCES, equipment from 2015-16 to the current requests. The instruction portion of the budget, again, has 9 offices and has those account code details on the left-hand side. And here's a pie graph that shows the breakdown. Again, we're in a customer service industry. We're in education. So the majority of our cost in this area specifically comes from staff. A lot of the same considerations apply in this area as well. We have no new staff included, but we have included all negotiated staff and contractual increases. We also have taken into account where some of our increases from year to year that we've seen raised, and we need to increase those areas such as special education, private tuition. We also have some increased requests for furniture and equipment. And we have our estimates, which we will continue to monitor through the process. This component increase is approximately $8.3 million, with $5.2 of that being salaries at this time. These numbers are correct, so we are looking at about a 1.36% increase from last year's general support requests wish list. There's a pie chart, not a pie chart, our bar graph, and this really does show where the majority of our salaries, majority of our expenses are in this component, which is salaries. So as we move through the process, as we say all the time, we have a budget email. Please start to use it. We check it every day. We also have all of our reports and presentations available on the website. We will start to compile a frequently asked questions as those questions do come up. And we'll continue to work on our estimates and work with the Board of Education to gain feedback. Here's the dates for our upcoming events that have been approved by the Board of Education. So you'll see that on February 10th, we'll have another superintendent forum, and actually the superintendent didn't know that, but the Spanish presentation will also be that evening. So we will have 2 conversations that evening. He doesn't know that, now he does. And we'll have another presentation on February 10th regarding transportation and undistributed, another wish list presentation, and also our bus prop and vehicle replacement plan for the 2021 school year.
I can also say, because it is a wish list, that there's things we're still communicating with the Board of Education, as well as many items that may be communicated back from the Board of Education. What you will notice on our website is that if we do update the wish list, it's important to call it that. If we do update the wish list with modifications, we will provide the board absolutely notification that it's been updated, as well as making sure that we repost any modifications made to the wish list. So what you see here today may differ slightly in another 3 weeks, a month, depending on what it is. Thank you. Questions?
Mr. Rubin?
Thank you, and thank everybody for the presentation that was given. I think that, I just want to make a statement, not a question, that I think it's important for the community to know that historically, and I give a lot of credit to Mr. Carrion and his entire central office staff, that if there is any pain in this wish list, things that have to be changed, modified, that within the scope of what we have to provide and what the student services require, that we try and distribute the pain equally. And it's not done in a willy-nilly manner. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Spencer?
I just want to know, is this the presentation on the website?
Excuse me, Mr. Senator.
I just want to know if the presentation,
It will be after you see it.
Okay.
It gets posted tomorrow.
and then will it stay?
Yep.
Every
Yes, we'll
time?
have, if you go to the board's website, all of the budget information is there, including starting with our budget calendar.
Thank you.
I'd like to extend for 5 minutes. All in favor? Okay. Next, Ms. Johnson?
Yes, under the school building equipment, that's playgrounds, those are new or existing? Is that going to be like repairs or something?
Right now,
Is that
it's,
equipment and stuff, is that all new stuff that you're looking to get?
we're looking, and it's not that we're looking, we're very inclusive to put everything down.
Right.
So, as you
The
will,
stuff that we're gonna get.
as you will know, what tends to happen and the way we work the process here is that all of the wish list, there are many things that would go to the board so we can get your recommendation as well, and they do get rated, and we prioritize
Right.
the rating, and we provide explanation. We're not there yet.
Okay.
Ms. Kellen?
I noticed in your presentation that the total general support component increase is this year is 8.96%, whereas the instructional increase is 1.36%. Could you explain in more detail the reason for the large increase in general support?
And Chris, and you can join me here with that. One of the things too is that when you look at the instructional component, if you think about that green component and the red component, there are quite a few things that fall under that piece as well. And as far as
If you look at just the raw numbers, $134 million is instruction. So when you take $5 million of that, it's a much smaller percentage than if you take $800,000 of a general support piece, which just I can't remember off the top of my head, is 19. So again, the increase, it's proportional based on the totals because it's based on the $134 million. And more detail will be provided to the board. Again, this is a wish list. So as the superintendent starts to refine this data, you will see what exactly all of those items are.
All right, could you just give some sort of general ideas? Is we need a lot more buses, or is it the cat food service?
Okay,
Is it grounds? What is it?
Okay, so general support, first of all, there's no buses and there's no food service because buses is in transportation, so that'll be the next component. Food service is in a standalone fund. So in the $890,000, there is any increases regarding salaries. There's contractual increases, like we had mentioned, there's a new dump truck that we'll be having a lease payment for. There'll be potential equipment requests as well as playground equipment, those types of requests. There's supply requests that are included in the general support. We also have an estimated 5% general liability insurance. We have BOCES up 5%. In the instructional piece, which was a total of $8.9 million, we have salaries, contractual, that need to be included. We also have equipment. We also have insurance that is included in there. We have supplies from departmental and building level requests and contractual related requests.
Okay, so in other words, the big increase in the general is things like the new truck and things like that. Is that what we're talking about? And the BOCES and things like that?
Almost half of the increase in general support is completely related to salaries, and more than half, but not half of the salaries are what makes up general support. So if you looked at the pie chart, 43.5% is salaries and general support, whereas in instruction, salaries are 85% of total. So when you have $5.2 million in instruction versus almost $400,000 in general support for salaries, that's where your offsets are. You look in the presentation, there was a breakdown as to salaries, contractual BOCES. That'll kind of give you a detail as to where those increases are.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Slashower.
Ms. Crandall, can you just refresh my memory a little bit with BOCES? This is unfortunately not instruction, but it's a BOCES question. Do you know, is BOCES for the new building, is that going to be bonded for this year? And do we have to start making our bond payment? And if you could just refresh my memory again also, our portion of that, are we bonding that separately, or is this one bond that all the districts contribute to and we're sending monies to BOCES for the debt service?
Okay. Just like we're handling our capital projects, until we know the total amount of those projects, we're not going long-term bond. So we are doing a bond anticipation note for each piece. It is a district bonding only. It is not combined with anyone else. So we do have, we will not be making any interest or principal payments on any of these until they become finalized, which will be at the end of the 2022 school year. The project should be completed. At that time, we will start making interest and principal payments for each serial. Okay?
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. 7.01, consent agenda, resolution. Does anyone want to pull anybody from the consent? Marie, Ms. Johnson?
Yes, I need to remove from the consent agenda 7.04, ID 39470, and consent agenda 7.16, the CPAC on dyslexia donation.
Which number? Can you repeat the number, please?
It's right there.
7.0. We got a vote.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the following consent agenda items as stated: 7.02, 7.03, 7.05, 7.06, 7.07, 7.08, 7.09, 7.10, 7.11, 7.12, 7.13, 7.14, 7.15, 7.17.
Move.
With the exception of 7.04 and 7.16.
Move. Second.
Second.
Kellen, all in favor? Okay. 7.04.
Yes, I removed the one specific item on that.
He needs to read
Oh,
it.
yeah.
He needs to read it first.
That's right.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the CSE/CPSE recommendations dated January 13, 2020.
Move. Second.
Second.
Peggy? All in favor?
No, she has to discuss it.
Discussion.
Yes, I removed the one specific ID number on that because I have personal knowledge and can't vote on that.
Okay. All in favor? Abstain?
16.
7.16.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby accept the following donations as stated.
Move. Second, Kelly. Discussion. Marie, Ms. Johnson.
Yes, I removed myself on the CPAC on dyslexia because I was one of the ones that donated for that, so I don't want to donate. I don't want to vote on myself.
Thank you. All in favor? Mr. Slashower?
I'll be emailing a budget request in for funds to be utilized for CPAC guest speakers again this year.
Okay. All in favor? Abstain? Ms. Johnson?
Sorry.
Okay, let's look at that.
Dr. Bach, if you can make your introduction.
Good evening, Superintendent Carrion, members of the Board of Education, as well as members of the public this evening. I'm very, very pleased to announce that the board has approved an appointment for an Assistant Director of Special Education at Van Wyck and Gayhead, Ms. Shana Cruz. Shana, will you please stand and be recognized? We anticipate that Shana will begin her transition from her current position as an elementary teacher in our district to the Assistant Director position sometime in early February. And Ms. Cruz brings 14 years of experience in teaching and administration, and we look forward to her doing a fine job and welcome her to the administration of the Wappinger Central School District. Thank you.
8.01, approval to attend New York State School Board Association Capital Conference, January 13, 2020. And I recommend Mr. Slashauer to go to that place. Go ahead, read it.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby authorize the district clerk to register board members Peggy Kellen and Ms. Trustee Solskjaer to attend the NISBA Capital Conference on February 9th through 10th, 2020 in Albany, New York. This is no cost to register, as NISBA members are free. Board members will be reimbursed for mileage, tolls, parking, meals, and hotel accommodations if applicable upon submission of itemized receipts.
Discussion?
So moved.
Second? Mr. Spencer? All in favor?
Well, discussion.
Discussion?
Just would like to ask. Mr. Slasha, that's okay by you? No?
Absolutely.
No, don't answer for him. I'm just
I'm answering for
him.
If I do not,
I actually think it's a good thing that he goes.
if I do not have a work conflict, not a problem. I cannot give you a commitment at this time. Do not know what my schedule is at that point.
Mr. Slashauer?
I will do my best to accommodate your request, Mr. President.
Mr. Slashauer, you'd be an asset going to that committee, to that convention. So I appreciate, I hope we can make the arrangements for one day. Case closed.
2 days.
All in favor?
It's 2 days.
Could be
Unanimous.
It's 2 days.
Sunday, you don't work on Sunday. Come on.
No, it is a working day.
Okay, Monday, work, big deal. 8.02, approval of new courses.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the following new courses for the 2020-2021 school year as detailed in the information provided.
So moved.
Second, Ms. Becky Kelly. Discussion? I read.
Dr. Cardinal,
Dr. Kawa, you want to say something?
briefly speak to each one of the courses.
Yes, so we have 6 courses that we are presenting today for approval. We have a course from the languages other than English course, which was presented by Director King and her team. It is a advanced Spanish class for heritage and native speakers. We have 2 science courses that we are presenting to you today. We have animal science, and we also have science research. Science research, we are looking at colleges in which we didn't earn college credit for that, so we are still in the process. And we are also offering improvisational theater, education in American society, and social problems in today's world, which are also DCC courses.
Just like to make a comment, I read all the proposals, and I highly commend the teachers and administration for proposing those particular courses. I think they're very valuable to the students. Mr. Slashauer.
I concur. The improvisational theater.
I figured that.
You figured that. No, I only say that because a couple of years ago, we also approved a new course for public speaking, I think that would help certain students overcome possibly, the fear of public speaking, getting in front of people, and things of that nature. So I think it's a good complement. There's also, some more arts involved, not just standing up there giving a speech. So I think it creates a lot of opportunities and helps students get out of their shell. I just had just a quick comment on number 5 and number 6. We don't have any definitive cost for those courses. And I think they're good courses and we should do that. I just need to know, if we approve the courses, but we don't have the budget for it, the course would be approved and it would be there, we just could not institute the course. It's just by approving the course, and if we have enough students that sign up, then obviously we have to find the funds for it. So, okay, we're just laying the groundwork. It's there, and if we could figure out a way to fund the course, we'll fund the course, even though we don't know the exact numbers.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So it's really based on, we have a pool of courses, the demand for the course.
So it's just one of them. I mean, it's several $1,000s. So again, not knowing where we are numbers-wise with budget, with everyone's wish list and so forth. So even if we approve it, it's there, and
That might not run.
it may not run either for lack of interest or lack of funds. But it'll be an approved course moving forward no matter what. Correct? Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
I just want to say this is a great opportunity for the kids. I know the 7th and 8th graders, as they start to select the language for the next, to get into high school, I think they're going to take advantage of this. And also, us living in this area, the introduction to animal science. I know a few high school students who are into becoming a veterinarian, so this is a great opportunity so they can start earlier in their profession. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Dr. Carwell. 8.03. All in favor of those courses? Unanimous. 8.03. Discussion and approval of letter to legislature regarding the exclusion of school security officer salaries from the tax cap.
President Lumia, before we get started with discussion, we can hear from Mr. Okima quickly.
Absolutely. Mr. Lokima, you got the floor.
Thank you so much. All right, so in preparation for our School Safety Council annual discussion, I was having a conversation with Senator Steve Serino's office, and they, talk about also advocacy to this bill that you had noted. They said that there's actually, they made me aware of a bill that's further along in the process, and so my recommendation is going to be that you reference bill number A00689 as opposed to the one that's in there. That one has a same as bill already in the Senate, which is what this bill that was noted in your memo is lacking, and therefore is further along the process. In addition to school safety personnel, A00689 also supports the exclusion for infrastructure and security equipment and training. Essentially, everything else is the same.
Discussion, a result. First of all, you have to read it. You have to read it first.
Point of order. Does that mean we should amend the letter?
We do, man. We should be able to.
Yes, I would recommend that.
You want to read it first? You make a motion?
Resolved that the Board of Education of Wapaja Central School District does hereby approve the attached letter concerning legislation that would allow school district to hire school security officers and exempt their salary from the tax levy limits as drafted by the Legislation Action Committee, and does hereby authorize the board president to sign a letter on behalf of the Board of Education.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Johnson.
First off, I would like to propose an amendment to this to change the bill support number from A05773 to, I hope I got this right, A00689.
So moved.
I will second.
Sorry.
Any discussion?
Oh, wait, she made a motion, so I'm seconding.
You second that, please.
I motion, Eddie seconded, and now you can ask for discussion.
Now you can ask for discussion on that part of it.
Discussion?
To make the motion. Did you want to also include the Senate bill number?
Did we have the Senate bill number? I missed
Yeah,
it.
but the same as Senate bill number is, it's S, like Senate, 01255.
S1255?
S
01255.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Stashower?
I just want to make sure that both of those bills, that's the only change in the bill, that it's further along. Because I don't want something that was in the original bill that's not in the further along bill to be missed.
Right, and so I've been speaking with, I spoke with both Senator Superintendent's office as well as Senator Karen Muller, and they agree that that one makes the most sense. It is further along, it's in this committee stage, which is like the next step. It has been there kind of stymied since this 17-18 legislative session. It does include salary for school safety personnel. It just includes additional things.
What about school resource officers? Is
That
that all inclusive?
That's, I read it to
Security,
be,
school
yes.
resource? Okay.
I read it to be that, yes.
Stashower?
Just to make everyone aware, I had originally drafted the letter for the committee. The entire committee worked on it to fine tune it. Reason behind this is the work that Assistant Superintendent Lokima had started last year with Kieran Lawler's office. I felt it appropriate that the committee should review the work that he had done and to show support for this initiative, and brought it up to the rest of the committee, which they were in agreement. We fine-tuned it, and then obviously we just fine-tuned it again, but want to acknowledge the fact that this is, I don't want to say piggyback, but this is a continuation / support of the initial work done by Assistant Superintendent Lokima.
If I can do a part two to
If I can do a part two to Trustee Sloshower as a continuation. Trustee Kellen, and
Point of order. Point of order. I think we have to vote to accept hers before we can talk any further about this whole thing in general.
we're talking about the
We're still
amendment.
talking, aren't we?
We're just talking about just this thing? I'm sorry, I thought,
We talk about.
I'm sorry, I
Just talking
thought
about
we were talking
these
about
two
the
issues.
entire thing as amended. Thank you.
You got the floor again.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
you stop me.
Ms. Kellen?
Mark this in the
Ms.
calendar.
Kellen, and also the continue efforts when we went down to our last board dinner, and the level of advocacy that Trustee Kellen, Trustee Spencer, and Assistant Superintendent Lokima participated in making sure as this continued work. So this work is definitely not new, but it's good to see that we continue and remain with our advocacy towards this bill.
Mr. Spencer?
With that, should we include a carbon copy to State Senator Shelley Mayer? She is the education chair.
Yes.
Yes, and I've looked at, I'm working with Senator Muller's office on some language to add to like a little flyer that we handed out on our panel discussion night, which is on this day, February 5th. And we'll be sharing it with the superintendent, we share it with our to council as well as our area schools, and get the community advocacy to happen towards getting this back on the radar for people to discuss.
Ms. Johnson?
All right, can I amend my amendment then? Can I get a motion to amend my amendment?
Say it.
Okay. I want to amend my amendment so that we carbon copy Shelley Mayer on this. She is the head of the Education Committee for the amendment on A00689-S01255. She's on the one on the Senate.
Yeah, can I please add?
But we're putting both bills into this.
Right.
Can I please add that you also include Amy Gunther? She's the
I'm
assembly
sorry?
person.
Okay. Should we also, Marie?
Who's the chair on the committee in the assembly?
Amy Gunther is the sponsor for the bill. The chair is Benedetto. He's the Education Assembly Chair.
Wait a minute. Ms. Pedro?
Okay.
let's.
So vote on, so
On the
first
mo-
we need to vote for the A/S numbers. All those,
Make a motion to vote on that?
We got a motion,
okay.
second.
Second?
It's already seconded.
All in favor? Unanimous.
All right, then my next amendment would be to add Shelley Mayer, Benedetto, did I say that right?
If you did, tell them about the correction.
And Amy Gunther.
Eileen Gunther.
I'm sorry?
Aileen.
Aileen Gunther, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you right.
So moved.
Second? All in favor of that amendment? Unanimous? Next? Any further?
I do have one other comment on the letter in general. Can we do that before we do the final vote? Okay. I did send Mr. Lumia an email, I believe it was to the whole board. Over the holidays, I was able to have a discussion with a family member who is an SRO down in Tennessee. They have fully federal funded SROs down there, and she's trying to get me the information. Unfortunately, she's got another severe illness in the family, so she's been behind on that. But even doing this, that is something that I'm working on, finding a full grant for SROs through the federal government. Supposedly there is one. They have 67 schools that they cover through their county alone. So, I mean, if I can find us free money, I know Ms. Crandall would love me to death on that. So I am still working on that on top of this letter, so that is in the works.
And as I said, I'd like to thank you for your effort in trying to get those particular grants. Thank you for your effort. Can we find vote on a letter?
No.
No, okay, good. Mr. Rubin, you have something else to say?
I would just like to say that although I'm in support of the concept of this letter, that increasing the amount of SROs or security officers that we have in the schools, I think that is a great idea. I am not certain myself, I'm not comfortable with the level of community input as to whether or not there's support for this particular action on behalf of, on the board's part. So I would like to, I just want the public to know that regardless of the vote coming here, that I personally would like to have heard more from the public. Thank you.
That being said, all in favor of the letter? All 7, 8 against? Oh. Mr. Rubin.
Put your mic on.
Everybody can hear me. Okay, 8.04, discussion on the approval of a letter to legislator, industrial hemp, agricultural research pilot program.
Resolved that the Board of Education of Wapaja Central School District does hereby approve the attached letter concerning the industrial hemp agricultural research pilot program as drafted by the Legislative Action Committee, and does hereby authorize the board president to sign the letter on behalf of the Board of Education.
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Slasha, Ms. Johnson, discussion.
Did you second first?
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Yeah. I would like to put an amendment on there to to carbon copy Mark Molinaro, our Dutchess County executive, since these fields are in that area and he approved all this, so I just felt that he should be added to that.
So moved.
Second? All right, all in favor of that amendment? I seconded. All in favor? The amendment? There's further discussion. Ms. Fleischauer.
So, once again, there was a community concern about the location of the hemp fields near both the Fishkill Plains Elementary School and Van Wyck Junior High. I drafted a letter for the committee, again, brought it to the committee. We then worked on it together to fine tune it. And because this was such a concern within the community, the committee felt that this was something that we should express our concern, that although we were not against farming and farmers themselves, we are really just asking for the commissioner when they are approving the permit process, to take into consideration the location of these farms to nearby schools. I also would like to inform the board that this past Thursday night, the town of East Fishkill passed a resolution with similar concerns with regards to the smell and the location of these farms within the residential communities of the town. So they passed a resolution. I think it's a good idea that we kind of piggyback it, but also let the agricultural department know that issuing permits for these particular farms in such close proximity to schools is something that we have a concern with, and they just need to take that into consideration. With that being said, I would like to make an amendment, and I'd like to add Richard Ball, the Commissioner of the New York State Division of Agriculture and Markets, to be the primary recipient of this, with Mr. Latham secondary, as well as everyone else that we can CC.
Second. Ms. Johnson, all in favor of the amendment? Opposed? Mr. Rubin? Further discussion? Abstain?
Okay.
Opposed? I'm
Mr.
sorry, take the
Rubin
vote
was
again?
no.
Abstain on the
Ms. Kelland was no.
Okay.
amendment. Said abstention.
Abstention, I'm sorry. And
And further discussion? Ms. Kelly?
Okay. Although I am quite appreciative of the nuisance value of the stink, basically, from the hemp fields, I was on the zoning board of the town of Poughkeepsie, and I know how difficult these decisions are. The law tends to favor the person doing it rather than the neighbors who won't suffer the consequences. But they and everyone else has to work within the law. I'm concerned as a member of the school board as to whether we should be taking up one issue after another which does not directly affect the schools. If we had some testimony or information from our administration or even from community members on bad effects that this has had on their students, that would be something that maybe we would have to take into consideration and decide whether or not we wanted to send this letter. When you lobby on many, many issues, you dilute your influence. The SRO issue directly impacts our schools, and it directly impacts our finances and our ability with a $6 billion state deficit, which I'm sure it's going to, some of it they're going to make up on the backs of the schools, our ability to function. So that was something that really directly affects the schools. But although there are many, many good issues, and if I were one of the homeowners around here, I would probably sign the petition opposing the hemp. But I'm really wondering whether the state school board should be taking stands on a great number of issues. I would like to have us look into it. Maybe the administration would like to take. We have a wellness committee meeting tomorrow morning. Maybe they'd like to. That would be a good place to inquire whether there have been any health effects on our school students. But I don't feel that we should be taking a stand on many issues, no matter how good and worthy they are, that don't directly affect the operation of the school district.
Mr. Rubin?
I don't want to add anything. She was eloquent in what she said.
I have to concur with Ms. Kellen. This is not a Board of Education issue. I feel for every parent who has to live in this situation, but we should not be telling farmers what they should grow on their particular lands. This is the state law. The state has told that the farmers they can grow whatever they want. And I say again, I'm more than willing to sign any petition by the community to oppose it, but I don't think this is a Board of Education issue. And we cannot advocate for one group over another group. And I think that by doing this letter, we're advocating against farmers, and I don't think that should happen. And furthermore, I called both Mr. Shukat as well as Ms. Fazio, and as well as spoke to the superintendent. There's been no complaints of sickness on the part of the students as it pertains to the hemp field that exists. So maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I've been told, and I think more research has to be done on it. And we should not take, in my opinion, we should not be advocating for elimination of the hemp fields or relocating the hemp field. This is not a Board of Education issue. Board of Education, this is what we're supposed to be doing. This is to hire and evaluate the superintendent. We set the vision for the district. We adopt and oversee the budget. We write and set policy. We give directions for contract negotiations. We approve contracts. We hear students as well as staff appeals. We vote on tenure recommendation. We vote on hiring of staff. There are some things that we do. Nowhere in that particular board responsibilities is advocating one way or another for community issues. That's what Mr. Slushauer.
Okay, I received numerous complaints from family members that go to both of those schools. I don't know why they didn't go to the principals, but between students that go there complained, as well as parents that were in the school, I do believe the board did receive a couple of emails, and parents had contacted me directly. Number two, this is a pilot program. This is not a law. We're not legislating or we're not advocating one way or the other. All we are doing is asking the commissioner, as they further review this, and as a pilot program, they may not issue permits for these locations moving forward. We do not know that. All we're doing is taking a position to take into consideration if you are going to issue these permits within proximities to schools. You think this isn't a board concern? I do. One of the responsibilities of the committee is identifying laws and potential regulations that have an impact upon the district and its taxpayers. Committee studies and analyze those laws and regulations, recommend to the board a position that would be beneficial to the district. All we're doing is letting them know that we have a concern. We're not telling them yes, we're for it, or telling them no, we're against it. All we're asking them to do is to take this into consideration. So we're not taking a position one way or the other. All we're doing is expressing our concern that our community, okay? I don't look at the board as, the board is part of this community. Decisions we make. The whole point of working with our local municipalities was to identify certain things that affect the entire community. This affects the entire community. How you don't think this doesn't affect the students and the taxpayers, which is part of the charter of the Legislative Action Committee. I mean, we probably could agree to disagree. And again, all we're doing is just letting them know that we're aware of what's going on and that we have a concern. That's all. We're not taking a position or a stand one way or the other.
Make a motion that we extend this for 5 more minutes.
So moved.
Second. And all in favor? Yes.
Okay, so, you know, not to beat a dead horse, and it's great that you reached out, but, you know, this does affect our community. I think it does affect the students, okay? You know, at the very least, the owners of these farms and Dutchess County should have notified the school district that they'd be issuing permits this close to the schools. They never did that. Okay, that's bothersome to me. And I'm not trying to say anything against farmers. They have a right, and under the law, they can grow whatever they want. But as a common courtesy, based on the location of these farms next to schools, in my opinion, they should have at least notified the superintendent that this is what's going to happen, so that then we could then notify the parents and the students and building personnel to say, hey, this is what's coming, and we may have to make some precautions or not. So this was just done willy-nilly, and I think it's important that we get involved, because I believe this affects our district. And I'm not taking a position, hemp is good or hemp is not good. All we're doing is, again, letting the decision makers know that this is what we feel is a concern within our community. That's all. They may agree with us, they may not. They're going to do what they want. But at least we're addressing some of these concerns, and we're working with our community. And I thought that's what we're supposed to do for the best interest of our students, our kids, and the community. It's my personal opinion. I don't see how this letter doesn't hold us to one position one way or the other. I just think we're making them aware that we're aware of what you're doing, and that, you know, we're not just going to let you do it just for the sake of doing it. Please just take our concern into consideration. That's all we're asking for.
Again, it's a personal opinion. I respect that personal opinion. I myself feel the same way as you do. But at the same time, it is not a Board of Education issue. When you talked about the Legislative Action Committee, the charter of the Legislative Action Committee reads as follows. The Wabash Center School District, the board established a legislative committee as a board committee effective July 5th, 2016, for the purpose of reporting to the board on state legislative and federal programs that have a direct bearing on fiscal or educational aspects of the Wabash Center School District and its taxpayers. Again, fiscal and educational aspects. This particular thing is not fiscal, nor is it, in my opinion, an additional aspect. Again, I'm willing to sign any petition, but again, as a board, I don't think you should get involved. Mr. Rubin.
Can I just respond just to your one comment real fast? I'm sorry, Mr.
I have the floor.
All I want is, you're saying from a fiscal and education, okay, we don't know what effects this has on any of the students as of yet. If this continues year after year, I mean, again, I understand we don't have data, okay? Any student special education needs that has allergies, breathing problems, what if they can't come to school on those days? Now they're being homeschooled. You don't think there's a cost involved to then have to homeschool some of these kids? I mean, all of these are unknown things, and I understand your point, but again, I don't see how this letter
with all due respect, from what I gather, no one has missed school because of the threats. Yes, Mr. Rubin.
I believe these farms were there well before the schools. So now they're growing hemp. My wife taught it in a school district where right across the street there were cow farms. And I want to tell you, when she came home, every 2 weeks I was spraying something into her car so that there was a certain smell that I could never get rid of it. So are you saying that it's just this particular item, or just is it the farms that bother you? I got a real problem with that.
The particular item, that's all that it is. We're not taking position against farmers. We're just, again, asking them to consider issuing permits for this particular crop in such close proximity to our schools.
And what happens next year if it's cows that are in that farm or whatever?
There are cows already there. So
Any further discussion?
Okay, I'm done. I'm going to go all night with this. I think I made my
Any
point.
further discussion? All in favor of the letter? All against the letter? Doesn't go forward. All in favor, please, of the letter, please? Raise your hands, please.
Oh, say that
In
again?
favor of sending the letter, Mr. Slashauer?
Do that again, do that again.
Mr. Slashauer is in favor, as well as Ms. Johnson. All opposed? The rest of us. All right, Mr. Rubin, Mr. Lopez, Mr. You abstain. Okay, Mr. Lumia, Ms. Kellen, Mr. Spencer, and Ms. Rappaport. Abstain? Mr. Godemon abstains. Next. First reading of policies. Silent reading. These are policies which I recommend that the community reads, and if you have any comments, please address them to Ms. Kellen, who's the chairman of the policy committee.
Just like to comment on it that these were all changes in wording to bring us up to date with the current administrative structure of the district.
9.01, board members may request additional agenda items, discussion items, or requests for information. Are there any additions to the agenda?
Motion to amend the agenda to add a resolution regarding an appeal.
I do a motion.
Second.
Motion.
Motion.
Ms. Johnson seconds it. All in favor? Unanimous?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby adopts the finding of fact and penalty recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools dated December 4th, 2019, which endorsed the findings of the hearing officer Peter Krasinski dated December 3rd, 2019 regarding student number 1011299, and be it further resolved that the Board President is hereby authorized to sign the board determination letter on behalf of the Board of Education, and be it further resolved that the district clerk is hereby authorized to mail the board determination letter to the students' parents.
Move.
Second. Ms. Kellen, all in favor? Unanimous? Let's see, communicate comments from the public?
to address, and I know I have 3 minutes, I want to do this.
Can't hear you very well.
Sorry. Is it on?
Wait a minute.
Hello?
That's better.
Good evening, Board. I had something I wanted to address, and I've been struggling with not disrespecting anyone generically, although I can't do that specifically. And I sat here tonight as a member of the Legislative Action Committee and heard 2 people take a stand after we met a month ago and all agreed. It sounded a little bit, I guess, disrespectful, to be honest with you, and said it. Secondly, I addressed the board last year, and I think another parent did, and we discussed full-time inclusion at Van White, and I respectfully said it was prior to any of this administration when it was lost, and prior to any of these board members. I have to ask the district and the board if there's anything that they have available to look back to see what other cuts were possibly made at that time that haven't been reinstated, so any parents don't have to come forward and bring it to your attention. I think that was like 10 to 15 years ago. I'm going to do this in a classy way. I'll send you all an email later with the specifics. I found the new board, generically speaking, to not be rubber stampers. I say that very respectfully and sincerely. And when I have gotten to some of you that I respect a lot, I've gotten, well, you know, the district office is the experts, and we go by what they say. I'm going to beg of all of you clearly and specifically to maybe question when you put your signature on the bottom of a paper. Because if people are getting rebuttals that contradict another end of the district that they're getting, and they have them both in this, hand at the same time, for like a simple reimbursement, it does question, like, what is going on then with the education of our children? So if, let's say, someone got a reimbursement for a flat tire, 2 weeks after the board president said, we're not going to reimburse you, it really leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth. Thank you.
John.
Sorry?
Join the meeting.
Join the meeting.
Anybody else? Is there
I'm sorry. Any other, anyone else? Make a motion to adjourn? I'm sorry, Marie?
Sorry, I just wanted to make a quick announcement I forgot earlier. This Thursday, January 16th at 7 p.m. at Watt Junior High School, the CPAC is having their Preparing for Life After High School meeting at 7 o'clock. I believe it's room 105. And also next week on the 22nd, the Community Communications Committee is having their meeting at 3:45 at district office, and everybody is welcome. Thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn, all in favor? Unanimous.